This morning we're just going to talk about a survey that's been carried out on a boat here for a vendor. We try to encourage the vendors to have a hull survey done so that when we're actually marketing the boat, we can market the boat with confidence, knowing exactly what is going on with the steelwork and specifically what is under the waterline. This is Craig Allen, marine surveyor, who has started working on this boat. And this boat has had one or two issues picked up on it, which we'll talk you through as we work our way along the length of the hull on the boat. What Craig does once the boat comes out of the water is he will rub off the actual steelwork here the actual mud on the steelwork to expose the steelwork so that he can do his measurements on here to see if the thickness of the steel is what we've actually declared on there. So Craig will show you now what he does. He has a meter here and he puts the meter on, and actually you can see the meter reading on there is coming in at 5.79, 5.8 millimeters on a 6mm bottom. What is important is when we look at things along here, we'll go along the whole length of the boat, you can see what is called a pit here. This is where there's been degradation of the actual steelwork and the thickness of the steel is actually going to be affected. So Craig will take a measurement then of that pit and see the depth of that pit on the boat. That is 1.75, so if you take the mass from the thickness of the steel, which is 5.79, take the 1.75 off, this boat is right on the limits of its insurability. For insurance purposes, the insurance companies do actually say that this steel thickness needs to be 4mm, and you can see just on that one pit there it starts to become uninsurable. And as we walk along the boat, length of the boat, Craig has taken various rubs off here and will continue to do his measurements if he wants to show us one on here where we've got
the water line where it's starting to go quite thin, down to 5.2. The water line is one of the most vulnerable areas because it's wet and dry all the time, and as you can see here the metal starts to delaminate and becomes very flaky, so you lose about 1 millimetre. 5.3 mil. Of course then there's pitching to the vent off that as well, so that's quite thin on the water line.
So our suggestion is going to be to the vendor on this that to make this a more marketable proposition, that the boat has a full overplate to the sides, which will mean that we'll take a steel plate from the bottom of the base plate here all the way up to this area here to renew those sides and effectively make the boat as good, if not better than new, and when it was actually first put into the water. If we continue to walk down towards the swim, which is the turn of the boat at the back, we'll be able to look at how the other measurements have actually been done as well on the base plate on the counter floor. Craig is on the bottom of the boat now, where he'll have done equally scrapes like these to actually see the measurement of the bottom plate, which typically is 10mm. And Craig is under there now, actually measuring the thickness of those the steel, and
10mm.
He's got a measurement of 10mm on there, which is fine. Yeah. So the base plate on this, Craig will have done another series of scrapes all the way along to actually measure the thickness of the boat, and has measured that at 10mm. The counter floor, which is this area along here, has been measured as well, and Craig has measured that at 10mm, and we'll be able to tell the vendor that this section here is actually in good condition. If we wander around this side, there are a couple of other points that are of interest on this boat.
That's a mild steel skin fitting where the wastewater comes out of the sink, and because it constantly drips it just corrodes and eventually the weld fails and the fitting breaks, which it has on this one, and it's the same on the galley sink as well.
Okay, so that's just a brief overview of everything we found on this boat. We will be doing some other videos of other boats, just so that you get a flavour of how surveys are built up, what sort of things you can actually find, and what we do with the customers to actually resolve these issues.